This baseball show is live. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be ingesting this podcast, audio-wise on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or some weird third party. I know Stitcher was a thing a couple years ago. I'm not sure if that's still a thing. Thank you for joining us live on X or live on YouTube. Thanks for watching us on replay on YouTube. And of course, thank you for joining us with our friends at SportsGrid, Jack McMullen, Peter Appel. And it's time for Peter's Power Rankings. It works because it's alliterative. We got some alliteration in there, but Peter's Power Rankings are going to be good. Excited for this. This is not necessarily just baseball.com's Power Rankings. This is Peter's thoughts, which he will tell you are perfect, and there are no notes there. But what I'm going to do is look at that list and see if I can poke a hole in a perfect list. Excited for that. We'll start at the bottom, so 30 to 21 and then 20 to 11, and then we'll wrap the show at 10 to 1. I'll let you lay out what we're going to do today, but Peter Appel, before any of that, who we brought to you by?
BetMGM, and if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JustBaseball when signing up, and you will get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code JustBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and if that bet loses, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. And you know what March means for college hoops? Lock in for every game and make your March moment when you bet with boosted odds. Activate your odds boost token for any March matchups bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Here's how it works. Your March matchups odds boost token has already been dropped into your account. No opt-in necessary. Add a March matchups bet up to the specified maximum stake to your bet slip, then activate the token. If you win your bet with the token activated, you'll score extra winnings. Again, that's code JustBaseball on BetMGM. Yes, these are my power rankings. These are ranked from 30 to 1, all with my record predictions. I run a model, and it spits out what the projected records are for each team. And then, of course, I rank them. I feed it a ton of data that I really like. So it's basically modeled out to the teams that I like. And here they are. You're correct, though. It is a perfect list.
Only thing I love more than March matchups are odds boost tokens. Might I just point that out? But yeah, that's really riveting stuff, and excited for this projected record to follow each of these teams. And we might as well jump in at the bottom. It's not sexy, folks, but I'm going to kind of give you clumps of 5 and we'll move from there. The way that I kind of like time this out is 3 segmented clumps. Again, 30 to 21, 20 to 11, and 10 to 1 to wrap. But I will deliver them in groups of 5. And I just want like quick reasoning, and then I'll push back if there's anything to push back on. But again, I probably will have nothing to push back on because it's freaking perfect. And Peter, you're so good at this. 30 to 26, the Rockies are number 30. The Washington Nationals are number 39 or 29. The LA Angels are number 28. The Chicago White Sox check in at 27th, and the St. Louis Cardinals at 26th. Couple of things that jump out there. The Angels, I know they're the Angels. They still feel a little bit low because for the umpteenth year in a row, I kind of don't hate the team on paper. And then the other thing, St. Louis, man, it's just weird to see them in the bottom 5 in baseball on any list.
Yeah, I wanted to rank the Cardinals a little bit higher. Podcast P, if you could throw up the graphic again, just so people can kind of get a gist of the record predictions. Yes, you know, the Angels and White Sox, 28 Angels, 27 White Sox, they have the same record. And the Cardinals, albeit ranked at 26, are still 4 wins above the Chicago White Sox. So this clumping, Rockies, I think they're going to be improved. I already bet on their over win total at 52.5. I know a jump from 43 to 62 seems high, but introducing Paul DePodesta into the front office, they actually brought in major league talent into the lineup. I like the Rockies a little bit more. The Angels, to go back to your original point, I still don't like the rotation at all. I know there's Yusei Kikuchi at the top. I really like Jose Soriano, but I think the drop-off is quick. And unfortunately, the bullpen is not going to save any of these innings that the starters then hand them. The lineup is okay, right? When you look at the lineup, you think to yourself, all right, this team can hit a little bit. Joe Adell was one of the sneakiest 30 home run hitters last year. The problem is they can hit, but they're not good defensively, and they don't run the bases well. So while on paper it might look like an okay lineup, don't love the rotation, don't love the bullpen, and they don't do the little things well either. And with the White Sox, there's not as much top end talent, but it's deeper and it's young players kind of playing with nothing to lose. I like
Yep.
their bullpen better. And I think their starting rotation is around similar, but there's some more exciting young players sprinkled in there. And there's rookies making a second year leap, or, young guys, second year guys making a third year leap. It just feels like right now a better run organization, even though they have the same record.
Yeah. Real quick, couple of things jump out about the Halos. Number one, Reed Detmers is the swing piece of this rotation. If Detmers is good and Detmers looks like he has flashed in recent years, they could be a heck of a lot better than the 28th best team in baseball. The other thing is, if you look at roster resource on Fangraphs as it stands right now during the Freeway Series, Adam Frazier is projected as the opening day second baseman. Then you scroll a little bit deeper and you see, wait, why is Christian Moore going to Salt Lake? It's important to note, while Christian Moore is an exciting young piece of what the Angels are trying to build, Christian Moore had a really rough spring training. Moore was 7 for 40. That's a buck 75 with 11 punchouts in 43 plate appearances. He didn't walk to mitigate that. Christian Moore and Reed Detmers are two swing guys for me. And I also look at St. Louis and I just say, outside of Mason Wynn and Burleson, what can you give me? Did you know Alec Burleson won a Silver Slugger last year? He won the Utility Silver Slugger, and I love that they give out that award now. Utility Gold Glove, I understood a little bit more, but Utility Silver Slugger, I read it and I was like, that's kind of hilarious, but I also love it because Burleson deserved a piece of hardware for how his season went. Wynn needs a bounce back offensively. I don't know. Those are just the only two with honestly real sex appeal in the bottom five for me.
I think Ivan Herrera ends up being the best hitter in that lineup.
Herrera.
So he is absolutely someone that I'm looking at to be a pillar in the middle of the lineup. And I think JJ Weatherholt, when we're looking at young, rookies about to debut, might have the highest floor, maybe at least in the National League, right? When you compare it to Kevin McGonigal, I think at least right now in their development, Weatherholt might have a higher floor than Connor Griffin, who's going to start the year in the IL. So those are four hitters right there. I also still like Lars Nootbaar. I think he's a really solid bat. The issue is he's starting the year a little bit banged up. And you have guys who could take a next step. Jordan Walker, right? We have no idea. Obviously, all the talent in the world. Will he at least be better than last year? I think that's okay to say. What about, off the top of my head, Nolan Gorman? Right, another hitter where it's like they've kind of hit rock bottom. Now they're kind of playing with nothing to lose. They certainly have a lane now because with the Cardinals teams, when you had Donovan and you had Arenado and you had a lot of these older pieces, they didn't really know where they fit. Now, here's your runway. With a clear runway, could they be better? And then I think it's easy to forget this Cardinals rotation, 250 innings of Miles Mikolas and Eric Fedde at a 5 ERA.
Yeah.
In the rotation with young guys, like Matthew Liberatore, like Kyle Leahy, a couple others, Dustin May they brought in. Could they at least replicate that? The Cardinals won 78 games last year. I'm projecting a 5-win drop-off. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so too. For the sake of getting to a more intriguing clump of five, I am going to bring up this clump even before we hit the break. 25 through 21 on Peter Appel's top 30 power rankings list, the team power rankings. We're doing Peter's top 100 on the next episode, so I'm just like conflating the two of them. But 25 through 21, the Athletics you project at 74 and 88. The Marlins, you projected 75 wins. At 23 is the Cleveland Guardians at 76 wins. And then 22 and 21 have identical records, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Minnesota Twins. So again, it's A's at 25, Marlins at 24, Guardians at 23, Rays at 22, and Twins at 21. We've got a minute left in this segment. What team here are you least convinced by? And a quick reason why.
The A's. I think their lineup is good looking, but the rest leaves a lot to be desired. It's not a great pitching staff. It's not a great bullpen. They don't play good defense, and they don't run the bases all that well. So it looks better on paper than I think it will perform in 2026. A lot of people are high on the A's. Me, not so much.
I understand. There are a couple of knee-jerk reactions that I have to this clumping of five. I'm going to tease them right now, and then I'll get into why on the other side of the break. I think you're a little bit too low on the A's and the Marlins. I think you might be a little bit too high on the Rays, to be totally honest with you. And I never thought that I'd say that about the Tampa Bay Rays. You're way too high at 22, but I do think that could be the case. Why do you think that, Jack? That's a great question, those of you watching and listening to this. I'll tell you in a minute right here on the Just Baseball Show.
What about the expansion stuff?
Yeah, but doesn't it make a lot of sense, Kevin? So it's 28, 29. He's already talked about, I'm playing in the Olympics in 2028. Retirement isn't on KD's mind right now. Play in the Olympics in 2028, and then a 2029 season, play where it all started, baby. Seattle.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And I mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe there are causes for players to become basketball drunk. Thursday, Friday, you're sitting around a hotel and all you're doing is watching ball. And then you go out on the floor and you're a little bit groggy. Yeah, because all you've done is just, you've laid in that hotel bed and watched game after game after game. And you get caught up in the emotion. Like everybody in the country was.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Get 50 home runs? He only stole 13 bases? Boy, he only pitched to a 4.15 ERA. Yeah, he's not the MVP. Like, who can steal it from him? If Ohtani plays the whole season, who can steal it from him, Tom?
It has to be something so dramatic that it will bring pause to the voters to say, hey, Ohtani's great. He was a good pitcher this year. He was a really good hitter. But what this player doing, we have to take note of.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Jack and Peter, we just ran through 25 through 21 on Peter Appel's power rankings going into the 2026 MLB season. Again, 25 the Athletics, 24 the Marlins, 23 the Guardians, 22 the Rays, and 21 the Minnesota Twins. The reason I think you're a little too low on the Marlins and the Athletics, you teased it a little bit with the A's. They may not pitch. I counter with they've got pitching prospects ready to come up and show out, I think. There are young arms that may start in Vegas or honestly, Midland, their AA affiliate, that could be a net positive for this team. They also have one piece of the lineup that I'm not convinced by, and it's what the heck is going on at third base or second base. And the answer is going to be Leo DeVries at some point. Is it going to look awesome in the back half of the year? I don't know, but he could be the first teenager. I saw Peyton Genis put this out. Could be the first teenager to debut in the show as a position player since Juan Soto in 2019, I think it was. Yeah, 2019. So I'm fascinated by DeVries. I'm also fascinated by guys like Braden Nett and Perkins and Barnett. Luis Morales could be good. Yeah, not Medina. Medina's in the pen. Morales is in the rotation. But other guys could fly like a rocket ship, man. Gage Jump, what's stopping him from getting up in 26? Jamie Arnold, what is stopping him from getting up in 26? They went quickly with Kurtz. It's easier, I think, to go quicker with college pitchers. I'll take you to my Marlins line of thinking as well. And again, plenty of bias.
Can I quickly?
You clap back.
You go. Because I think you make a lot of really good points, but I also could almost use that as an argument for my side. This is an A's team waiting on guys in the minor leagues to up their prowess. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, if they need guys who are starting the year in AAA, if they need a 19-year-old to debut in order to fill a spot, how good are they? Right? When we're talking about the better teams in baseball, we're not talking about, well, they will get good when they pull up their minor leaguers. These said minor leaguers could be good players, but there's a reason that they're starting the year in the minor leagues and not in the major leagues is because they're not quite ready. So if all of those work and they hit the ground running, yes, I will be wrong on the A's. However, it's just hard for me to factor that in because we don't know how those minor leaguers' years are going to go, how well they'll transition into Major League Baseball. Yeah. That's my point on the A's.
No, I get it. You hate prospects. You've always hated prospects, and you'll never turn the corner on that. And it's okay. I'll fight a losing battle here, but I think that I will come out on top, and that will be kind of majority rules there. The Marlins, they've got a lot of young guys that are stepping into their first full season and maybe a better season of Major League Baseball, I think. Yuri Perez off of Tommy John surgery looked the part in spurts. I think we get a more consistent Yuri Perez this year, and I think this guy could be getting Cy Young votes when it's all said and done in 2026. The other piece to this that I think could be an absolute game changer, Jacob Marcy, I think could be a 4.5 win player. He has that kind of well-rounded nature to his game. The 20 homers, I question if he can get there this year, but I think comfortably he can be 10 to 15. 40 stolen bases, I think, is absolutely within the realm of possibility for Marcy this year. And he can play a high-level defensive center field. Marcy, as the straw that stirs the drink for the Marlins, I think he could push them well beyond this, 23rd ranking that you have tagged on them?
Yeah, I think all of those things are fair. Actually, when you look at public projections, I'm one of the high guys. The market is at 72.5 and I'm at 75. So I would even recommend an over on their win total based on a lot of the things that you said. I do want to tail it back a little bit and just see, all right, some of these big breakout performances, how many of them last? And I look directly at Kyle Stowers, who burst onto the scene last year, but is already starting the year on the IL. I think they have a lot of good young players. I think they are ahead of schedule in their plan. I think Peter Bendix, the GM of the Marlins, has the right hat on, has the right plan for the Marlins going forward. So I'm with you. I'm actually higher than the market, but it's like, how much farther can we push this team? And when I ran the projections, again, I'm one of the higher guys in the market.
Sure. I totally understand that, man. I also see a comment here on our live YouTube stream. Owen Casey, Marcy, and Stowers might be the best outfield in baseball. It's a darn good outfield. You need a couple more solidified seasons, I think, from these guys to say that. But listen, again, plenty of bias baked into this. I'm right there with you, man.
Again,
I'm totally see the vision.
It's a young team playing with nothing to lose. Like, I like that. When you look at like what they have already done, that talent on the field, it might be a little bit lower, right, than 75 wins. But I'm projecting a lot of steps forward for these guys. So that's kind of where I land.
Sure. I know you're higher on the Twins than I am, which is why you have them at 21, but I do want to talk about 22 and 23 real quick. The Rays you have at 22 and the Guardians you have at 23. These are two teams that perennially exceed expectations. They're also teams that have failed to address glaring deficiencies over the last couple of years. Cleveland, you can clearly point to the starting rotation and say it's just not as good as it has been in previous years. Like, there's a lot of reliance on Cantillo, who I know you like, and I really like Cantillo. Great guy, great pitcher. But there's a reliance on him putting together a full season. There's reliance on Bybee bouncing back. And there's also a reliance on Slade Ciccone, and who knows how good Slade Ciccone is. Logan Allen is going to AAA, so that tells you, I think, what you need to know there. Tampa, it's a lot of reliance on Shane McClanahan. Andrew Rasmussen. Rasmussen was heavily guarded last year. He was babied, I guess, as much as a 30-year-old can be babied. But what does an unleashed Rasmussen look like? And what does McClanahan look like after not throwing in just about 2.5 years? So those are my thoughts on Cleveland and Tampa, but floor is yours for the next 2 minutes.
I'll be really quick on Cleveland. I've been high on Cleveland before, actually every single year of this podcast, and they've treated me well. This is like the first season where I think I'm lower than the market is. And a big reason why is when I feeded all the numbers from last year as part of the formula, they noticed that the Guardians had a -6 run differential and won 88 games, right? If you look at an expected win-loss record based on a -6 run differential, they would have gone 80 and 82.
Sure.
So they used guard ball magic. Will guard ball magic be back? It easily could be. This is a team I could be totally wrong on. Like, I am fully aware that the Guardians are model breakers. Now, on the Rays side, you mentioned Drew Rasmussen and Shane McClanahan. Drew Rasmussen has been awesome as long as he's on the field. Same thing with McClanahan. But you also failed to mention Ryan Pepiot, who I think is a really legit starter. And they brought in guys to raise the floor, like Nick Martinez, like Steven Matz. And to answer a question that you talked about the A's, they also have a ton of prospects coming up. But they also have a much better bullpen, and they at least have 3 studs in the lineup. And instead of kind of young guys trying to make a leap, they're established veterans. They aren't, the coolest names on paper, but are they 1.5 to 2 win players? Yeah, that's what brings me to 78. Again, not even a 500 team, but I still think that they will be at least somewhat solid.
Yeah, I understand that. And Pepiot didn't slip my mind, but I was kind of sharpieing in Pepiot to have a solid year. I'm just looking at McClanahan and Rasmussen making up 40% of the rotation and saying, I don't know. And the other counter on the position player front, no more Brandon Lau. He was a big piece of what they did when they were at their best. And no, Mangum and Meisner, I know that was a small piece of last year. Keep on going on the Just Baseball Show next. Continues. Let's get into 20 to 11 in Peter Appel's power rankings here. At number 20, the Arizona Diamondbacks, you have projected at 78 and 84. Then we get into two 80-win teams in the Cincinnati Reds and the San Diego Padres at 18. Wow. The Pittsburgh Pirates at an even 81 and 81. And then the Kansas City Royals at 81 and 81 as well. So perfect equilibrium for the Royals and the Pirates. I say wow because the Padres are at 18. That's unbelievable, man. But it's a totally different looking roster than what it was last year.
Yeah, it's my biggest drop of any team from the previous season. The Padres won 90 games last year. This year, I project them for 80 and 82. And I think a big reason why, the rotation. Nick Pivetta was just announced as the opening day starter. And you ask yourself, well, that might make some sense, but what happened to Michael King? Well, Michael King has been getting destroyed in spring training. Now, I'm not going to put a ton of stock into spring training stats, but you would expect Michael King, who is more talented than Nick Pivetta, to get that opening day start, but they obviously clearly want to go with Nick Pivetta. So you have Michael King where I can at least say confidently there are questions. Am I going to totally, put Michael King in the trash? Absolutely not. But when your number two has questions, your number three is Randy Vasquez, whose underlying numbers say he's probably closer to a swing man rather than a three. And then they're kind of backloading that rotation a little bit. What happens if an injury comes in to the middle? That could totally blow this whole rotation up. Already, it's clinging on for dear life. The bullpen is outrageous. But what hurts talented bullpens? When they have to throw a ton of innings. So I think that this bullpen, in terms of talent, nobody touches it. But does it end up as the number one bullpen because of the usage? It might not at the end of the year. And then I look at the starting lineup and I see Machado, love him. Tatis, love him. Merrill, love him. The love starts to falter a little bit after that.
Sure.
And they've replaced a lot of these guys with veterans who have had good seasons, right? Ramon Laureano, Gavin Sheets, they played well last year. But it's also, if you look at a 3-year window, I can't project Ramon Laureano as a 138 WRC plus or Miguel Andujar as a 125 WRC plus guy. Miguel Andujar, in terms of all hitters, was the biggest discrepancy between WOBA and ex-WOBA in the bad way, which means by that metric, he got the luckiest of any hitter in Major League Baseball. So I look at this roster and I say, well, can they be helped at the deadline like AJ Preller always does? AJ Preller has never had a weaker system than he does now. And the counter could be, well, he might find a prospect or two in the meantime. Is he going to find a prospect or two in the meantime to get them a legit starter, which they need? He might be able to get another bullpen arm, but will they need another bullpen arm? Could it get them a Gavin Sheets adjacent type hitter? Sure. It's not enough. And with the rotation hanging on for dear life, I'm way lower on the Padres than I think a lot of people are.
So now I want to take it to the Pirate versus Padre conversation, because these two are stacked in your power rankings here. You've got Pittsburgh at 17, and then you've got San Diego at 18. Why the Pirates? Why are the Pirates? I left out an important word if I were to try and put together a complete sentence. Why are the Pirates better than the Padres this year? And let me just say before you answer, I understand they put their money where their mouth was offensively. And I love looking at that starting rotation. But at the end of the day, did they do enough to be a better baseball team than the San Diego Padres?
I think so. I look at the starting rotation, I think it's night and day different. You got Paul Skeens at the top, you got Mitch Keller coming in, you got Bubba Chandler, and you got Braxton Ashcraft. All four of those arms are competing with the Padres' top two, I think. And I'm pretty sure you agree that Braxton Ashcraft could break out. We talk about Jared Jones and Bubba Chandler and, guys who could be aces. Braxton Ashcraft could develop into a solid 3. And when Jared Jones returns, he's likely your 5 starter. Yeah. The Pirates could have one of the better rotations in Major League Baseball. And then the bullpen, I think, is solid. But what helps a bullpen is when the rotation is really good. So I think they could almost make the bullpen look a little bit better than they are. And already the Pirates have a couple of talented names in that bullpen. And then I look at the lineup and I say to myself, all right, a lot of these guys can hit. It's a pretty deep lineup. The issue, defense, right? I think they could be the worst defensive team in Major League Baseball. But when I add up the WRC plus projection for the Pirates and for the Padres, the lineups aren't that different. They really aren't. The Padres are a little bit above. The Pirates starting rotation is a full tier above. I mean, maybe even more. And the Padres have the bullpen advantage. So that's where you get these similar projections. But what wins out? Starting pitching. That's where I land.
I always want to cite starting pitching. I think starting pitching top-end talent and starting pitching depth are the key to a good season, because you need to not have a scheduled disadvantage. How many times have I said that in this podcast history? You need to not have a scheduled disadvantage on any day in your rotation. And there are some teams that will have a scheduled disadvantage. Not to pile on the guy, Tomoyuki Shigano in Colorado, it's just a scheduled disadvantage. Pirates don't have that. More in a sec.
You don't usually get Alabama basketball booked at less than 160. You're getting that now here. The real question is Aiden Holloway done for the tournament for an Alabama team who, we've seen under Nate Oates, they're more than capable of getting themselves to a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 and maybe even beyond that.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
NBA Central sent out a tweet yesterday. Hornets announcer Eric Collins says Jalen Duren is one of his favorite players to watch. Quote, I like talking about that body of his cut up like coleslaw, end quote. Interesting.
Yeah. Not quite sure what the reference to coleslaw is. No idea, Donnie. I have no idea.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night. So, you're watching the NFL games and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, the dust is settled on the games. They just end. And so I'm like, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
First listed here at 44%, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Bryson DeChambeau combined. Tie at 32%, and Yannick Sinner down there at 30%. So where do we do? How about that? Who will win more?
Yeah.
So combined effort Combined effort.
Yeah. Combined effort. I don't know.
I like it.
Shep, we're going to have to get it going here.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
News, as always, it is presented by BetMGM, Jack McMullen and Peter Appel. We were just talking about the Pirates versus the Padres, and you have the Pirates at 17 and the Padres at 18. We'll get to 15 to 11 in a moment, but I do want to highlight your 16th best team in baseball. The Kansas City Royals, man, it just seems like nationally they get slept on a little bit more than they should, and a huge piece of that remedy came a couple of weeks ago. The World Baseball Classic was a huge 2-week stretch for the Kansas City Royals. Salvador Perez being the captain of that WBC champion Venezuela team. Michael Garcia being the MVP of the World Baseball Classic. Bobby Witt Jr. showing out the way he did defensively. There were so many other pieces. Caglione and Vinny Pasquantino with Team Italy. Seth Lugo spinning his way to, I think, a win in pool play. He might have struggled a little bit in the knockout round, if I remember correctly. But man, there were so many positive things for Kansas City that came out of the World Baseball Classic, and it seems like they're just going to ride that mojo into the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, if we look back at the 2023 World Baseball Classic, does anybody remember some top-end performances that just blended straight into the MLB season and it was incredible? Probably off the top of your head, it's hard to remember. I think for a reason. And another thing that came out of the World Baseball Classic, Salvador Perez and Team Venezuela won, MVP Michael Garcia, another Royal. Salvador Perez also came out and said, I would be fine retiring. I don't love that going into the season. Now,
sure.
I think Salvador Perez is a legend. I've loved watching his career. What type of season do we get from Salvador Perez where you feel like he's accomplished everything? And now he's, how old is he? 36 years old playing catcher? Don't love that. Now, at the top of the lineup, I love Vinny. I love Bobby Witt. Obviously, I think he's the third best player overall in baseball. Goes Ohtani, Judge, Bobby Witt. There you go. There's a spoiler for tomorrow's top 100.
Real quick, hitter-wise, Soto is a better hitter than Bobby Witt Jr., but player-wise, Bobby Witt's a better player than Soto.
Correct. Okay. Yes. I would probably rank Juan Soto fourth, and I did. Then the rest, it's like Cags could break out. Carter Jensen could break out. Again, these two guys where I got to see it. You know, Jonathan India, we talk in our Discord all the time. I don't even think Royals fans are that high on him. Isaac Collins, we'll see, broke out as like a 27, 28-year-old, and it was kind of a relative breakout. He's just more kind of a well-rounded player. Let's see if he can replicate that. And then Kyle Isabel is pretty much just in there for his defense. I think it's easy to forget that this Royals offense finished 20th in OPS. And an argument could be, well, they're moving the fences in. Well, if that helps the offense, great. It probably will. But will that hurt the pitching staff? Because Cole Reagans, I think he's one of the most talented pitchers in baseball. I think he's going to shove this year, but projections for him are kind of all over the place because he is returning from some major arm injuries. Michael Wacha is as solid as they come. Seth Lugo, I said it when he signed the extension. I was like, I'm not a big fan. I think the stuff is regressing, and he showed that.
You're a hater. Yeah. Keep going.
I mean, it's been true. It's been true throughout.
Listen, as someone that has been historically a Chad Innings eater respecter, you don't love spin machine Lugo, and that's a little weird and contradictory.
I loved Seth Lugo when he was putting up an ERA in the mid threes, but then I'm like, all right, as he ages, I'm not going to like it. And that's exactly what has happened. And then Bubic, tons of talent, has to stay on the field.
Sure.
And I think when people picture Bubic, they're like, oh, the 2.8 ERA that he was putting together in 70 innings. That's just going to be extrapolated over 170, and then he's automatically going to be an ace. Like, I need to see that. I need to see that to believe it. And then Cameron, again, all the underlying metrics say he should pitch to around a 4 ERA, and he's a fastball changeup guy. I think he's talented. Does he pitch to a 3.9 ERA and be a pretty solid pitcher? I think so. They don't have a ton of depth. I really like their bullpen, though. I think their bullpen is actually what's getting slept on. Like, everyone wants to talk about the offense. People want to talk about the rotation. I think the bullpen is what's being slept on. Estevez, it's funny. I think he's like the third best reliever in here, but he's their closer. Love Urseg, love Matt Strahm. I think Schreiber is really solid too. So it's a good team. It's just, I have a lot of questions.
A lot of people forget that we're on a timing clock, and you might have spent too much time on the Royals because you wanted to avoid this atrocious 15-11 that you just put together here. 15-11 on Peter's power rankings as we push into that. The Astros are projected at 82 wins. The Giants are at 14. Baltimore is at 13. The Rangers are at 12, and the Braves are at 11. Now, I don't think you factored in Spencer Strider's oblique issue that Mark Bowman tweeted about on Monday morning.
I did not.
You're way too high on the Braves and Rangers. That's what jumps out to me immediately. You might be too low on Baltimore. I think you could get away with having this part of the power rankings inversed entirely, and I would have less issues with it.
So give me your 5. How would you rank these 5 teams?
So I'd probably go Astros 11, Giants 12, Orioles 13, Rangers 14, Braves 15. I'm kidding. For the sake of inversion, I just went like the total opposite. I think I would go Orioles 13. I would probably go, or Orioles, 11. I think I'd go Astros 12. I'd go Rangers 13, Giants 14, Braves 15. Now, that's recency coming into play in the Murphy's Law type of offseason that Atlanta has had, but literally everybody's getting hurt for the Atlanta Braves. And I can't, in my good conscience, say that they're the 11th best team in baseball on opening day. They're running out a rough rotation.
That's correct. It does not factor in Spencer Strider getting an oblique about 20 minutes before we
So
press
what's
the record
the point?
button.
What's the point of doing the power rankings if it's not going to factor in Strider's oblique?
I'm still holding true. I still think that this lineup is really good. I still think the bullpen is elite. Yes, they have starting pitching concerns right now, but eventually these guys will return, right? Spencer Strider's oblique is not keeping him out for the season. Spencer Schwellenbach is not out for the season, right? They have a lot of arms who are currently injured right now who I think eventually will come back. And to answer your question on the Orioles, everyone is just rushing to race the Orioles right back up into like one of the top spots in baseball.
Myself included, yeah.
The Orioles last year had a worse run differential than the Twins and the White Sox. The Orioles won 75 games. I have increased their wins by 9 games. They have certainly improved, right? It's almost the difference between the Padres getting lowered and the Orioles getting raised. I could almost make the argument that the Orioles are too high based on they have to prove it. Trevor Rogers has to prove he can stay on the field for the entire year, right? They have a lot of guys throughout their lineup like Jackson Holliday, who's already banged up. Jordan Westberg, who's already banged up. They have a lot to prove. And that bullpen worries me too, because the rotation, they have some nice looking names, but they haven't been proved that they can eat innings consistently. Then what happens to what I project as a below average bullpen? And it's easy to forget that this Orioles offense ranked in the bottom 7 of OPS last year. They have a lot to prove. So I'm not just going to race them up because they added Pete Alonso and Taylor Ward. I need to see more.
I think you're a bit of a hater. Why are you so ridiculously high on the Texas Rangers? I can kind of see it. Their rotation, I totally see it. But the bullpen and a lot of these guys in the lineup, like I love Langford. I love Seager. But I don't know. They give me more pause than they give you.
So, love the rotation. Eovaldi, DeGrom, Gore, Leiter, Latz, or Rocker. Yep, I'm in. The bullpen, it's hard to project because they overperformed last year, but they did finish 5th in ERA, 3rd in WHIP. Like, this bullpen was extremely good last year. Will they replicate it? Probably not. But will they be a top half bullpen? I think so, and it helps certainly when you have a good rotation. Now, in the lineup, you say you like Langford and you like Seager. I like Brandon Nimmo. I like Josh Smith. I think Evan Carter could bounce back. I think Jock Peterson, he couldn't be any worse. And Jake Berger, kind of the same thing, and then Danny Jansen. Another good thing about the Rangers, they run the bases well, and they play good defense on top of it. And they had a better run differential last year than the freaking Mariners and Blue Jays did.
I think you're undervaluing how big the drop off is from Langford and Seager to the rest of that lineup.
Yeah,
like,
those are their
the
stars.
second name you mentioned is like, I like Josh Smith. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I like Josh Smith too.
3-win player.
Yeah, I just don't know if that
If
results.
If Josh H. Smith put on a Bryson Stott jersey, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I disagree. I think Stott has a lot more aura than Josh H. Smith, but
he does have a better walk-up song. That's true.
Yeah,
He does
he's
have
got a
better
way
walk.
better walk-off song. It's way more, I guess, interactive than Josh H. Smith. But
Correct.
yeah, I agree to disagree on that. But
That's
yeah,
fair.
it's an interesting clump. But without further ado, we get to the top 10 in Peter Appel's power rankings. That's coming up next, right here on the Just Baseball Show. Yeah, perfect. The top 10 on Peter Rappel's power rankings in Major League Baseball going into 2026. At number 10, the Detroit Tigers, you have projected at 85 wins. At number 9, the Milwaukee Brewers, you have projected at 86. Two teams at 87 wins. Number 8, the Chicago Cubs. Number 7, the Boston Red Sox. And number 6, the 89 possible win, New York Mets. So again, Mets 6, Red Sox 7, Cubs 8, Brewers 9, and Tigers 10. When you look at this group of 5,
Yes.
who sticks out like a sore thumb?
The Brewers at 86 and 76 because they have won the division 3 straight years. Who are we to doubt them? It's kind of like the Guardians, except the Guardians on steroids. Like, these are the model breakers in Major League Baseball. I'm getting a little bit worried about the rotation. Are you? Because they announced Jacob Mizorowski is going to be the opening day starter. Great.
Yeah.
Jacob Mizorowski throws fuzz. He's incredibly fun to watch. What about Brandon Woodruff? Why is he being moved to 5th in the rotation? And now Chad Patrick is the 2. Now Kyle Harrison is the 3. Now Brandon Sproat is the 4. Now we can like these guys, but at the end of the day, they got to prove it, right? I think that's fair to say. We can like them. They still have to prove it. You lose Freddie Peralta. Obviously, that doesn't help. Now, I love the bullpen, and I think the offense is going to struggle to hit for some pop. But the good thing is they do all the little things really, really well. I wanted to move the Brewers higher. They're probably going to be the team that proves me wrong. They just are. Even though I've been pretty bullish on the Brewers. I bet them like 8-1 to win the division 2 years ago. They were my division pick last year. Just this year, they fall one spot short of the Cubs. And I also think it's important to note, of this group of 5, very similar record predictions. Like, these are, once we're in this bucket, these are the teams I love. Like, I think the Tigers have built out a great rotation. I think they have a solid lineup and a solid bullpen. Just a really solid team that wins the Central. Brewers and Cubs going to fight for the division. Red Sox, one of the best rotations in baseball. Would love one more big impact bat. I don't mean to open up old wounds about Bregman and about, Rafael Devers, but it is true. And with the Mets, again, that's a 6-win jump from last year. I think they're greatly improved. But I feel like this bunch is ranked correctly. Of course it is. I made it.
Yeah, I like that you have the Tigers at the bottom of this bunch. To be honest, I would think about having Baltimore over the Tigers. And you could say that's absolutely criminal and insane. And I would say, okay, I get it on the heels of 25. But
But here's the thing. I
yeah,
don't think it's criminal and insane. I have the Tigers at 85 wins. I have the Orioles at 84 wins. So,
yeah,
like, if
right.
you said that, I'm not,
No,
you know.
but listen, you are a sensationalist that will take really anything I say and say you are out of your flippin' mind.
No, you know what we are right now? Unfortunately, whether you want to admit it or not, we're the Spider-Man meme. We're just pointing right back at each other. We do this to each other.
Yeah, I like to think we're a little bit more first take-ish than Spider-Man meme, but I don't know. You're doing the Spider-Man meme in your room. Good for you. Good for you. So the Tigers at 10, I just have a lot of questions about the Tiger lineup, to be honest with you. And when you look on paper, that Tiger lineup looks pretty darn solid, right? Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, just by name value alone, it's pretty good. Dylan Dingler had himself a heck of a year in 25. No reason to think he can't repeat it in 26. Gleyber Torres, I mentioned Kerry Carpenter as well, Torkelson. At the end of the day, those guys are way more volatile than a lot of other stars around Major League Baseball. Riley Green is in the James Wood camp for me, where yes, he can win a game by himself. Like 4 plate appearances from Riley Green can beat a Major League Baseball team 3-2. But Riley Green can also strike out 4 times in a given baseball game, and those can be huge spots. And all of a sudden, you're waving the white flag. He runs through stretches where he makes me go gray. James Wood makes me go gray. Torkelson will run through stretches where he's not even playable at the major league level. This guy was optioned on the heels of a 31 homer season in 2024. So there are guys that jump out to me in this lineup, and I say, okay, yeah, name value is good, but at the end of the day, do I love them? I'm just not sure I love them. The other team that jumps out.
Can I
I'm a
say
little
one quick thing
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
Tigers,
got
just
you.
really quick? I kind of agree with you.
Yeah,
And by kind of, I mean like 80% agree with you.
yeah,
My counter would be, all right, you might not love him, but do you like him? Because there's nobody in the Tigers lineup that I dislike, where I'm like, ugh. It's like everyone, I agree, it's not this crazy top end,
yeah.
but they also have a pretty high floor. And when you combine that with a great rotation and a good bullpen, you win 85 games.
Sure.
That's my counter.
Yeah, that's a fair counter. I also don't really take that into consideration. Like I look around, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine on all these guys, but there are more lineups in baseball than there aren't. Where I look at it, I'm like, 3 of these guys I strongly dislike having in this lineup, and I would look for improvements. With the Tigers, you don't necessarily do that, and with McGonigal, that reigns even more true. I'm a little surprised you don't have the Mets in the top 5. I love the Mets offseason.
Me too.
Love it.
Me too.
It's amazing.
It's funny. We'll get into the top 5. They have the same projected record as 5-4.
Cool.
So, I love them. I think they're one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah. The Cubs, they're an interesting conversation here, and I want to clump the Cub and Red Sox conversation together because you have them both projected to win 87 games this year. Where would you give, and just like off the top of your head, bullpen, rotation, and lineup advantages between the Cubs and the Red Sox? I think I'll go first. I think I like the Red Sox lineup more. I like the Red Sox. You disagree?
Disagree. I like the Cubs lineup more than the Red Sox.
I just don't think there's a Roman Anthony in that Cub lineup.
I mean, Michael Busch put up a very quiet 140 WRC plus. Nico Horner is a dog. They add Alex Bregman. PCA could be better than Roman Anthony. Like when PCA is on, he's 25-25 before the All-Star break. The problem is he was like 6-7 afterwards.
Yeah.
If he puts it together, he could be better than Roman Anthony. And again, I'm not quite as high on Roman Anthony as everybody else is. I still think he's awesome. You're going to see him in my top 100. I love him. I think he wins an MVP one day. There are just some concerns where I'm not ready to crown him yet like everybody else is.
I think I give the Red Sox the edge in lineup. I think the best player among those two teams plays for the Boston Red Sox and Roman. I love Willie Abreu. I'm higher on Jarren Duran than I know you are. And there are other guys that I guess I have a soft spot for. I'm also higher on the Red Sox rotation, and I think the bullpens are a wash. So I think the Red Sox are a better team, but this is also probably taking into account the strength of the division. The AL East is a gauntlet. The NL Central relative to the AL East is a little cakewalkish. We've got about 30 seconds left in this segment, but you think divisional impact was certainly a thing here to get them to an even number.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Red Sox are a little bit more talented. Cubs have an easier schedule, and that's how you find a similar win total projection.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. So that was 10 through 6. Again, at number 10, it was the Tigers. Number 9, the Brewers. 8 Cubs, 7 Red Sox, and 6 Mets. Time for the top 5 after this on the Just Baseball Show.
Them against St. John's being an extreme difference maker, they got guys. At the end of the day, Nate gonna do what Nate gonna do. And they're gonna run it up, they'll get down, they'll come up, they'll go on runs, but well, you gotta give them credit. I don't think they can win a national championship that way, but man, are they exciting to watch. And they are literally a snap of a finger going on a big offensive run.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What does the deal look like? That's where it changes. It all changes at that point in time, because you've got them where you want them early, or at some point, even late. And you're making a decision based on opportunity, based on staffing, based on program. And then all of a sudden can you just call my agent to get this deal done? And when you think you have a deal done, you don't have the deal done anymore.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball announced yesterday that they will be having a partnership this season with a company that we've come to be very familiar with over the last 6 months. Polymarket is the exclusive prediction market partner of Major League Baseball and the only platform allows to use teams, logos, and marks. Representing the latest pro league to embrace the prediction markets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
One more time for the top 5 on Peter Appel's Power Rankings.
Okay,
Okay, stop. The top 5 here on Peter's Power Rankings going into 2026. At number 5, the New York Yankees. The Yankees are projected at 89 and 73, as are the Toronto Blue Jays at 89 and 73. And then the 390 win teams. Number 3, the Seattle Mariners. Number 2, the Philadelphia Phillies. And number 1, the 160, which makes no sense because there are 162 games in a season. So pick which side you want to add 2 games to. The 160 LA Dodgers here. Can you just real quick give me the reasoning for why the Dodgers have 2 games canceled?
I think it might be a typo because I put down 162. That's like what my projection is. So might just be a little bit of a typo. But going into the top 5, with the Yankees, I think they will rank higher come the postseason when Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon are fully tuned up. I think the Yankees, they had the best offense in baseball last year, and I think they might again. I am a little bit concerned with the rotation until Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt come back. Right now, they're going with a 4-man rotation. They aren't really sure whether Luis Gil is going to make the team, so we'll see more updates on that later. And then the bullpen is weaker than it was in previous seasons. I think it's easy to forget that the Yankees won 94 games last year and were one of the best teams in baseball before they lost eventually to the Toronto Blue Jays, who took the LA Dodgers to 7 games. So we're talking about some of the best teams in baseball. Love the Blue Jays. Losing Bichette stinks, but still a great team. Did they overperform a little bit in the regular season based on the run differential and their, expected wins? Yes. Do I still think that they're awesome? Absolutely. I have them ranked 4th.
To be honest, if you're here looking for Dodger talk, you should probably go elsewhere because they're the undisputed top dog. Like, I don't think we need to spend 3 minutes on why the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. Like, they added Kyle Tucker this offseason.
we could just do an entire hour on just like moaning and groaning of how awesome their lineup and everything
That
is.
would be awesome radio. People would love it, and they would absolutely subscribe and make sure to come back.
Oh yeah, so good.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that's the good stuff. Oh my God, Kyle Tucker.
Whoa. That's Freddie Freeman. Wow. I mean, yeah, they're awesome. They're way better than everybody else.
The real conversation I want to get into here is your number 2 team. You've got the Phillies as the second best team in baseball. Poor K, Peter.
So let's remember 6 or 7 months ago, do the math and get us back to October. You and I stepped on this podcast and we said the winner of the NLDS between the Phillies and the Dodgers would win the World Series. And then fast forward 4.5 months, mailbag question. Jack says Phillies could be a mega dark horse to sell. And I start freaking out because I'm like, what in the world are we talking about here? Did the Phillies have the most sparkling offseason? No. Is it still a phenomenal team? Stacked with great players? Absolutely. So you say they lost Ranger Suarez. That certainly hurts, right? They won 96 games last year. I'm projecting 91 this year. However, you will get Wheeler back, projected in April. Sanchez is as good as it gets. Luzardo is probably a top 15, 20 pitcher in baseball. And Nola, right? You were just talking about the World Baseball Classic. Wasn't it nice seeing him shove for Team Italy? And then in the fifth
Italy
spot,
Nola and Philly Nola might be a different guy.
could be a different guy, or he could just be your run-of-the-mill 180 innings at a 4 ERA as the 4th starter. How many 4 starters in baseball can do that? Not many. And then the 5th is either one of the best pitching prospects in baseball or Taijuan Walker, not great. The bullpen
He's on the opening day roster. Yeah, Painter is on the opening day roster.
So now you have one of the best pitching prospects in baseball as the 5. The bullpen is even better than it was last year. Jose Alvarado returns from PEDs. Brad Keller, one of the best relievers in baseball last year. And they get Durant for a full year. And the lineup looks pretty similar. So what am I missing here? I'm still dropping them 5 wins from last year.
Yeah.
They were the second best team last year, according to you. And they have a lot of the same guys. Better bullpen, worse starting rotation a little bit. Now we're giving up?
I hate when you use my words against me. That's not what they're meant to be. They're just supposed to be vomited into the ether and never to return and for me to never think about again.
Spider-Man meme.
I don't know, man. It's interesting. The Phillies, there are just so many guys on the other side of 30 that could have a downturn. Like I see Travis Kelce signs a 3-year deal, and my first thought when Kelce signs a 3-year deal is he's kind of like JT Realmuto. I don't know what that says about me.
Travis Kelce is going to catch 60 balls next year, and JT Realmuto is going to be a 2-win player again.
Sure, that's fine, I guess. I don't know, man. So again, Peter Appel's top 5. It is at number 5, the New York Yankees. At number 4, the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 3, the Seattle Mariners. 2, the Philadelphia Phillies. And number 1, the LA Dodgers. We've got 30 seconds. Plug whatever you got to plug, and then I'll say see you.
So make sure to go get your Just Baseball merch. You can find the link in the episode description and join the best baseball group chat in the world. Link is down there as well. Rate 5 stars, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get it. And make sure that you like this video on YouTube. And thanks to everybody listening on SportsGrid.
Huge thank you to Peyton Genius for Peter Appel. I'm Jack McMullen. We will talk to you soon. Peter Appel's top 100 players. And then we get into an opening day preview. And we get to talk about real baseball. So excited for the end of this week. Again, thanks for joining us.
good does it get?